Let's talk about Keon Sabb at Alabama. Where was he before? He was at Michigan before. And what's interesting is that you had this national championship team, right? Who had, I'm not going to say historic, but a freaking fantastic defense, right? I mean, it was historic in some ways. He didn't even start. He didn't even start for Michigan, but he was in that rotation. I believe he started in the national championship game, though, if I'm correct in that. Yeah, I mean he played over 300 snaps. Like he basically was a starter. Like that secondary rotated in and out a ton, and Keon Sabb was a big part of it. He was fantastic. I think he had 21 passes thrown in his direction. Only 10 of them were caught. In like eight pass deflections or pass breakups in just those 21 attempts. That is crazy. Fantastic athlete. Bama knew exactly what they were getting when they were going after him, right? And you got some new pieces there in that Alabama secondary, but Malachi Moore, Keon Sabb. I mean, you still got some names there. I think Keon Sabb's going to be a really good player. I mean, yeah, sure, he's got some things he's got to work on, but that I think more so comes from like a lack of, when I say lack of experience, I mean, I think it's just like this might be the year that he kind of takes off. So, look, if you're looking at Alabama's defense and the name Keon Sabb isn't doing anything for you, uh, it should.
Yeah, I mean, you had Sanders still, you had Page, you had Rod Moore, you had Wallace, obviously Will Johnson. Like that secondary was loaded, and then you get to a guy like Keon Sabb, and he was just the young guy in an elite veteran group. I guess Will Johnson's also a young kid, but regardless, I think that, like you said, that secondary is a lot of new pieces, new coaching staff coming in. A great place to start is Malachi Moore coming back for what feels like year 20 there, but it's probably only year 5, and Keon Sabb. Like that's a great building block for you there. You bring in the new coaches. Obviously, Kane Womack going to be the defense coordinator, but you got Mo Linguist and Colin Hitchler, right? Two secondary guys that are just holy cow overqualified. Hitchler guy, obviously, you Midwest, Big Ten, Cincinnati fans are going to understand him and what he did for Cincinnati. Brian Cook, Kobe Bryant, not to mention Sauce Gardner. It was the 2020 season defensive back coach of the year. What he can do with Sabb, and Sabb's another guy. We talked about this with Nwangpa, right? Fantastic coverage traits, can tackle really, really well, can play in the box, free safety, nickel. Michigan was really counting on him this year. And unfortunately, obviously, for Michigan, Harbaugh leaves, and you got the kind of couple players ended up leaking out of there, and Sabb was one of them. And DeBoer, all too familiar with him, with what he saw in that national championship game when he was at Washington. And he understands exactly the kind of player Sabb is and the impact he can have in year one for his Bama team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how Alabama's going to use him, but I mean, he played some snaps in the slot. Um, he played some snaps over the top. That's mostly where he played, and he's played some snaps in the box. He's got the frame to, play in the box. Make an impact in that run game, but it has yet to be determined, I guess, what they're going to use him for exactly. I mean, he'll probably play strong safety, right? If I had to guess. Um, is Malachi Moore going to play free safety then? Damani Jackson, and then you got Devonta Smith in that star spot. What do you
Oh,
think?
I think the beauty of all three of those guys is I think you could feel good kind of rotating them and just being like, okay, who wants to line up here? Let's. It's like the old Bama the ride outs, right? They had those four stud receivers. They would literally rock paper scissors for what routes they ran. It's gonna be like that. I think with these guys, not quite that scale, but you can have a ton of versatility, a ton of options there that you feel pretty good about there at that back level of your defense.
Yeah, I'm looking at this roster, and it's a good roster still, man. No Nick Saban, it's still a
People,
freaking good roster.
people
I
be
mean,
sleeping, man. People be
Quinn
sleeping.
Smith, Jaheim Otis, Tim Keenan, Quandarius Robertson.
Dude,
I
if
mean,
you were to tell
LT
me right now,
Overton.
if you were to tell me right now that they stay relatively healthy, bro, bro,
That defense, or are you talking about the whole team?
the whole team. But especially that secondary, right? Those are young kids, and like I guess we didn't talk about you got the freshmen coming in, Zabian Brown, Red Morgan, Baller, Jalen
Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., which by the way,
Patrick Jr.
holy cow, the fact that he's playing right now is nuts because we were watching. I mean, we're young guys. Okay, we're like young guys. We were born in the 2000s. If that makes you turn us off, right? Because you're like, these guys don't know college football, then so be it. But all I'm saying is that it is crazy to us that Drake Kirkpatrick's son is playing at Alabama right now. Nuts.
Yeah, he, I still remember his hit. I believe it was at Arkansas. He crushed somebody coming across a little drag route across his field, and yeah, I that's kind of wild. I mean, we'll hope obviously for Bama's sake that he's at least somewhat near that level of player um
There's a
for
first
these
round
killing the
draft
board
pick.
teams. Whew. But
Yeah.
yeah, back to Keon Sabb.
All right. Well, let me ask
Um,
you this. What do you think Alabama's odds to win the national championship are on DraftKings right now?
1,200.
That's pretty close. 1,400.
Yeah,
Do you think there's
yeah.
value in that?
No, nope.
No,
No,
you don't
because
think that?
dude, there's like 16. They're gonna play how many games are gonna play? 16, 17. Like it's gonna be a lot of games, and you're gonna have to have depth. Now I have depth at quarterback and some other positions that are kind of nice to have, but
Yeah,
regardless, Keon
the
Sabb,
offensive line.
yeah. Keon Sabb, I mean, he's he's a big get for Bama. Michigan fans
Yeah.
devastated. That's how you know. That's how you know. That's how it
Yeah.
is. Like Michigan fans I trust. Oh, they're devastated. Keon Sabb leaves. Probably a good sign about what Alabama, the type of player that they're getting.
Yeah, I think our boy Jason at Rock Boys Football, I think his quote was, yeah, Michigan fans know, and he's a Michigan guy. He's like, Michigan fans know that Bama got a good one. So
Yeah.
you can't take our
Top,
word for it, take his word for it.
former top 100 player. I mean, versatility. What don't you like? What don't you like there?